Have you ever experienced bad weather giving you pain? It's a weird question, I know. The elderly occasionally move to Mallorca or the Canary Islands because their pain is less there. But on the other hand, in fall and in winter, doctors' offices are crowded with patients suffering pain. We're going to shed some light on all of that and tell you how to deal with that pain and develop your personal approach. And at the end, I'll surprise you with a test on how to locate pain in your body. If you don't know me yet, I'm Liebscher Bracht, and we're looking for clues to explain what exactly happens in our bodies. We're talking about being sensitive to the weather. Weather sensitivity means air pressure being too high or too low, humidity to the point of being wet, temperature, coldness, and heat. The wind, for that matter. All these factors can influence pain. There have been many tests and studies that point in that direction, but you might be asking yourself, why does it affect us? There's one study, for example, where 3,000 people were observed in various weather conditions. Of those 3,000, 2,000 responded to changes in the weather. Now, you might say, okay, there are people who are sensitive to cold, so they have pain in cold weather. And there are people who are sensitive to air pressure, so they have more pain, or less pain, depending on their sensitivity, when the air pressure is respectively low. Or take humidity, wetness, or damp weather. There are people who react to that, others, again, do not. And there are people who have problems with certain kinds of wind that gives them migraines or splitting headaches. Are these really genetically hardwired responses that make people react so differently? To be a bit more concrete, in most cases, it's about pain in the joints, and we know from studies that people with arthrosis or arthritis react more dramatically than others. Then there's the issue of scars. After surgery, for example, well, suddenly these scars act up under certain weather conditions or after injuries. To sort through all these different observations you may have made and approach them systematically, let's take a look at a pain lake. You may know it. We use it to visualize how pain is triggered. The pain lake has a surface and, of course, a bottom. Now, this here is the pain threshold. Now, imagine all the places in your body that could experience pain. The joints, your back, your vertebral column, your head. They are represented by balls. It's just an image. Let's take a ball for your knee. And if your knee is down here at the bottom of the lake, I'm going to write down knee, and then everything is fine. No pain. And then tensions increase, and at some point, this ball, representing the knee, comes up close to the pain threshold. And at that moment, we have pain right here. Gets switched on by your body. And why is it switched on? It is controlled via your brain because the brain measures everything that is happening in your body. In your back, or a joint. Something happens that creates excessive tensions and thus wear and tear, or arthrosis develops, or a disc might slip. Your body has to warn you because it wants you to feel well and not sustain injuries or any damage. And so this pain, initiated by your brain that sends a signal saying, do not do this specific movement. Do not assume this or that position, so that your body will not be damaged and your knee won't suffer from arthrosis. Well, the position of these balls in the pain lake depend normally or fundamentally on the way we move. And if, in your knee or other joints of the body, we limit our range of motions, of angles, then muscles and fascia shorten, as we say, and that cranks tensions up and up and up, and eventually, at some point, the two joint elements, the thigh bone and the calf bone, are pressed so hard against each other that arthrosis sets in, and then pain is triggered. However, there's also another reason why tension in here rises. Whenever physical, environmental factors, and now we're getting to the weather, results in changes in tension, then you could see that immediately by looking at our pain ball, the one for the knee. If the knee is up here, for example, and the weather turns cold, what happens if you sit in a bathtub full of cold water? Well, you take this position. Everything contracts and you're freezing, and you want to protect yourself. And when you go outdoors in winter, your posture is more like this and not relaxed like you're at the beach. This means the cold tenses up your muscles, tension increases, and that means the joint ball goes up a bit more. And warm weather makes the ball go down. And when they do that, they sink to the bottom. They're farther away from the pain. And that's the reason why older people, in particular, in winter love to move to a warmer climate. Majorca, the Canary Islands. Because the weather is nicer there, more pleasant and warmer, you're more relaxed, and your pain abates. Not because the Canary Islands or Majorca are pain-reducing, but by lowering the tensions in your muscles. If you have a lot of dampness, wet weather, dampness or wetness, in particular in nasty weather, always transfers temperature more easily to the skin. You may know that sensitivity to cold is higher in damp air than in dry air. Dry air doesn't feel as cold as air that has the same temperature but is damp. It feels much colder. And this is why, through these different dampness and dryness situations, the effects of temperature working on your body become more noticeable. That means if you have cold air in combination with dampness, then the ball is up a bit more, closer to the pain threshold, or even above it. And if air pressure comes into this equation, that also has an impact. Higher or lower air pressure, these are various factors that map onto this pain lake chart. But now you have to realize that these balls here in the mid-range that are not so close to the pain threshold, they go unnoticed. Nobody feels tensions below the pain threshold, except for maybe athletes who work a lot with their bodies and have experience with it. They can feel, I'm more tense here and more relaxed there. Regular folks, normal pain patients, cannot feel that, or, if at all, only a little bit. And that means there's a big question mark as to where the ball is right now. The moment the ball breaks the surface, you can really feel it. Because then you realize, well, it hurts. And that's when you can notice it. So I've put in 3 balls, shoulder, back, and knees. And you can see the back is rather up there, so is the knee. Bit below, and even farther below, you can find the shoulder. That roughly represents the typical situation in our population. Well, now imagine you factor weather sensitivity into this. It's getting a bit colder. All 3 balls rise a bit. And what can you see here? The ball representing your back breaks the surface and pain is triggered. And that means all 3 balls rise, but you only feel one of them, the pain, that is. And someone who doesn't have this ball up there, but down here, would not feel any pain. even with the same temperature increase. So it's not so much about people reacting differently, and their joints too. The back responds differently compared to some other joints. It's about where the balls are, and that again depends on how you move in your daily life. And now, let's move to the most important part. How can you, knowing what you know now, treat yourself to stay free of pain and discomfort and negative consequences for the rest of your life? Please share this video. This should interest everybody because everybody knows and has these kind of problems. What can we do so that cold and wet weather, wind, or whatever, will not affect you personally, and trigger pain? Very simple. You have to bring down your joint pain balls in your body as much as possible. We only have 3 of them in our chart here. We have 10 to 12 big joints and numerous smaller ones. All joint balls should come down as much as possible. And how can we do that? By doing our exercises, our foam rolling massages, using osteopressure as we have described so often in our videos, in our books. Use the exercises to make sure that these balls sink. Where do you start? At the places that usually hurt you in winter when the weather turns cold. Start with your knee. Let's say the knee, in your case, is the ball that is closest to the pain threshold here. So it has to come down farther than those that are closer to the bottom anyway. And this approach can make you independent of any weather. Then you'll change from a weather-sensitive person into a weather-insensitive person. Come rain or shine, stormy or wet weather, whatever, you'll be pain-free. Wouldn't that be something? And we're going to do one better. If you're interested in where the other balls are they close to the pain threshold or not? There's a great test for that. I discovered it by accident. Because sometimes I feel like going for a swim in a pool when the weather is cold, and the water's cold too, 12, 13 degrees Celsius, or even cooler. And when I dove into the pool, I noticed my head started to hurt. And my foot too, and I thought, well, it's the cold. And then it dawned upon me, my own knowledge, my expertise, and I realized, hey, of course, the muscles and fascia around my head are so tight in this cold, they're contracting so much, they're triggering a headache. And the same was true for my foot. There's only one of them. The other one was more or less okay, less pronounced. And that means be careful when you go into the pool. Yeah, test the water before you go in. And go into a very cold pool and swim a couple of laps, and then you'll feel that some places in your body hurt more than others. And that's exactly the point. That helps you see where it hurts, where the balls are closer to the surface. And where it hurts less, the balls are farther down. By the way, the weather is not the only factor influencing this situation here. What also factors in is your diet, the environment you live in, your psyche, your emotions. Look forward to more videos on these issues that help you to understand what's happening here. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of them. And if you click here, you'll find a training routine for your entire body. And now, have fun bringing those joint balls down. Bye.